tight in the hand and then just try and get rid of it, basically. So we'll have a little bit of a feel around because it's a cold day here. We can also then, by feeling around, we can get a bit more blood flow going in there, which will warm your fingers up because we don't want to do anything too intense on the tips of the fingers when you're cold. Okay. So we can obviously feel some tension in here. That's going to then lead up to tension in the shoulder. Some tightness in here. Yep. So that's going to come from here. We need to work along here to get rid of that. But again, right now I just want to get some circulation happening, and I want to also diagnose, see if you've got one particular finger worse than the others. You can see there's not that great a movement there in that joint. Okay, so that's something that I'm going to be paying attention to as I come in and work her hand. And again, you can see with that one that it hardly moves, basically. Right? It's very jammed up. So I'm going to be working, I want to work that finger and loosen up some of that tension. That's a bit better. So I'm really thinking I'm going to be, paying attention to these two fingers, the thumb, and I can feel points in between. When it comes to hand massage, some of the most important areas are obviously the fingers and the joints of the fingers. Loosen those up, it'll help prevent arthritis developing, or even if people have arthritic fingers, then we can get rid of that tension. It'll take a lot longer, it's a lot more painful if somebody does have arthritis. You're pacing it out over several treatments. The next area that's important is this kind of muscle of the thumb area here, okay? So that can be very tight. There's a very important pressure point just in between that thumb and finger, and how we access that is to come from this angle rather than this angle. If you come from this angle, you'll probably miss the point. Like, that doesn't feel like anything, right? Whereas if we open it up and come in here, then we're going to more get all, yeah. So that's saying that, yes, that's the point.
Found it. Ouch.
Yeah. Okay, so reducing that level of tension, reducing the tension in this part of the thumb all through here is a high priority. And then the next area is this area here, and even a pressure point in here, okay? Reducing this tension is very important because this can add to elbow tension. So a lot of people who type a lot and that sort of thing can get very tight in here, okay? So that's the kind of goals of where we're trying to loosen up, all the joints, kind of in between here, because that's going to add to the outer wrist band, right? Then we've got that upper little finger band through here. We've got the outer thumb band coming in through here. We've got the inner thumb band, inner wrist band, bottom little finger band, and then the outer little finger band right on the edge here, okay? So those are, in terms of the bands, that's what we're looking at loosening as well. They're all going to have their origins in the fingers, okay? And of course, then they're going to come up and affect the elbows and the shoulders, but you're not going to loosen up somebody's shoulders without doing this first. And they're going to come up into the neck, the side of the neck, and into the head. It can possibly cause headaches and that sort of thing. All right, so again, I've pretty much got a good diagnosis. Now what I want to do is just loosen up whatever I can nice and easily and get that blood flow going and using my fingers before I start to use something more intense like that chopstick. I could at this stage then decide to work any of these fingers, especially the tighter ones. There's no hard and fast rule that you have to work the thumb first or anything. I often do work the thumb first, especially if I'm wanting in an early stage treatment just to get rid of as much tension as I possibly can in the hand. Okay, remember I was talking about treatment plans. Our first treatment is more like, hi, how you going? Nice to meet you. Our second one might be designed around one of either the feet or the hands. And then after we've done that, we try and, during those treatments, we try and get rid of as much as we can on that first run. And then we often get them back and do an assessment, and we may do then another run over of that same thing. And that's when we get the stubborn tension out. So in this treatment, being her first one, I'm going to just do each finger, but with extra emphasis on the ones that were tight. So I already know the thumb's tight, this finger's tight, and this finger's tight. So even if I have an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it may take me a couple of hours to do a thorough job here, I would want to spend the majority of that time on these three, okay, just because they're the worst. All right. I'm going to go in quite gentle to start with because our fingers are still a little bit cold. How's that pressure for you?
It's about a 5.
About a 5? Oh, we'll go in a bit deeper.
That's better.
Cool. In my first run over, I'm going to do relatively quickly just to get that, see what can move relatively easy. So I put the chopstick here in, and then I move it. And I'm moving that, you know, for want of a better word, energy, although that word is not very well used, but whatever it is that's causing this to become tight and this whole band to be tight, I want to move it, right? So my first run over is just to sort of get whatever will come up way nice and easily, and just to bring her awareness to it, increase the blood supply to the area.
When we were doing that yesterday, that you could feel the heartbeat in the base of the finger. Is that pretty normal?
Yeah, that's quite common. So I'm going to come back now and a bit deeper. But again, always want to work under her threshold of tightening up against me, which is what I call a 10. And, you know, I can either sense that or I can ask her if I'm not good at sensing that. But, you know, at first we might ask, and then we should learn to sense that. And again, going in a little bit deeper to try and get rid of some of that tension there. Pressure's okay? About an 8?
Yep. 8, 9.
8, 9, yep. Feels particularly jammed in here. So again, I'm slowing it down. I'm directing, I like to direct a bit of energy into the chopstick like a laser beam to break up whatever this is. Again, we don't have very good words in English for what actually creates the tension, okay? That's why sometimes we have to use controversial words like energy. Because whoever invented English obviously didn't understand this kind of stuff. Okay, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to work this side of her thumb. It's quite an interesting area around the curve. As the thumb curves, this area tends to get a lot of congestion. I wouldn't slide on a deep level the chopstick unless I had usually just the tiniest little bit, like you could dip it in like an inkwell into some sort of moisturizer or oil just to, if you're going to slide, unless the person is quite oily. So I'm mostly doing pressure on, pressure off, move.
Ow.
Yeah. You can see she's aware that I'm working there. You are aware that I'm working here, aren't you?
Most definitely, yes. It feels like needles.
Strong sense of awareness.
That's what we want.
And I can feel it right here. It feels really jammed up. And so that again is that feeling of it being jammed up is whatever it is, again, whatever word we want to use. And, you know, loosely we use energy that's causing the congestion. But before I do that, because I know that's going to be quite painful for her, I want to actually come back here and get all this, like, really flush. This is what I was talking to you guys about yesterday, about the flushing, having an intention behind what we're doing rather than just kind of going through the motions of, like, I'm supposed to stick a chopstick in the finger. We're trying to flush that channel.
Where do you feel it jam? Does it feel thicker?
Thicker and harder, so it's not like it's nice and soft. It should be nice and soft. It's like where it's jammed, it's going to push back out at you, and it's also going to be where it's painful. So in particular here, I can really feel it feels like, even though it's a small diameter, like it's the diameter of the band here is about the same size as the chopstick still. It just feels to me like, oh, that feels really tight in there. And it'll feel to you like really painful if I work it. And I don't want to work it here without having done it here. But it's much harder to feel it on a physical level here. I can feel it on a physical level here and all the way past there as a band. But my perception of it on a physical level ends about here. But I sense it as an energetic blockage. And again, those words are I was trying to, figure out the right analogies or comparisons in English of being something like a blocked sewer where we're trying to, open it up, or a blocked sewage pipe or something, and it's jammed up in there. Or you could look at it in some way as a form of electricity that's not flowing properly. Not that electricity jams up like a sewage pipe does, but something of that nature. And of course, these words are only ways to try and describe this particular thing that Chinese might describe it as blocked qi, which is the whole basis of acupuncture, of course, right? Unblock the flow of the qi.
Just tell me when you want me to hit record.
Now I'm coming in deeper into this spot and encouraging her to breathe deeply. So again, that breathing, like I was talking to you guys about, is like going to flush all this away that's causing this residual tension. So she breathes, I access it, she breathes into it, lets it go. And that can be associated, as I say, with many different things in the body, whether they be physical or emotional. So tension can be caused by emotional reasons, and as we access that tight area, it can let those emotions that are anchored in here now start to flow into the person's consciousness and ability to release it. So again, it's getting quite thick here, and I can definitely feel the band by this first joint. And it tends to accumulate in terms of tension. There's often a real tight spot just above that band. And as I say, I spend a lot of my time, probably 70% of my time, between the point of the finger and this first joint. Because if I do that well, the rest of it will be easy. And if I don't do that well, the rest of it will still be stuck because it's anchored here. Okay? And that's what's taken me sort of, 30 years of my career to figure out.
There's tears coming soon.
Okay, good. And there are other tools you could use, like I sometimes use a spoon, like with a bit of cream or something to kind of push that through. It would be the end of the spoon that we don't eat from, and it's only certain spoons. This is again an intense spot here. We can see that starting to bring stuff up for her. We just encourage her to breathe, keep breathing and letting go. Always thinking, I'm not the tension, if you're the receiver. I'm not my crap, my shit, Don't identify with it, just let it go. As I was saying to you guys before, it's really never to your benefit, in almost all cases, to hold on to residual tension. So as I come, I start off here, and again, leaving that space of those few millimeters, 5 or 6, 7 millimeters, between the nail bed and the first point on this band. And my movements here are, first of all, just going into it, holding it, letting her breathe into it. And then I start to move slightly, so I really try and break up that end of the band while she breathes into it, or cries into it, burps into it, farts into it, screams into it, whatever comes naturally as this starts to release. And then as I go down the band, the amount that I move increases. Okay? And sometimes, like I say, I don't wiggle it, I just hold it, kind of project energy into that. Again, whatever word we want to use, chi, like a laser. and then following that more. And now I'm moving a little bit faster, and I'm flicking over it, and you can definitely physically feel that. You can probably even see that as I flick over it here. And as I say, if this is not releasing, it's because it's held back here. All right? So I come back into that spot, holding it, kind of projecting my intention into there. Okay, so intention is like a form of your own chi, a subtle level that can be actually amplified by the chopstick. Interestingly enough, I just had a guy out on my property dousing for water using guava sticks, and it's very interesting how energies can be amplified through things like this. Now what I'm going to do is move the joint side to side, and then I'm going to come into this other part of the band in here, and I'm going to follow it this way. And then come this. And all the while, like, I'm paying attention to what I call the micro, which is my awareness on this chopstick and how it's impacting upon her subtle energy field here. But I'm also paying attention to what I call the macro. The macro is her breathing into it and letting it go. Okay, so it's important to pay attention to both the micro and the macro, because we're dealing with an integrated human being, especially if you're working on a living person. Because the life force goes through the body in an interesting kind of way. Another technique I can use here is just to move the thumb, that first joint, into my chopstick. And that allows me to, and you can see I'm flicking over that band. And then I'm going to come down and try and see if that's going to let go that way. And if it's not, then I'm going to come back into here. And get the roots of it out. See, and some of this band, this mic, what I call a micro band, is going to add to the macro band of being the inner thumb band that then comes in to the shoulder in front of the, and into the chest, front of the chest below the clavicle. Okay, so we made some nice progress there. You can, I can start to feel it, yeah, really starting to let go where it's been stuck for a long time. And I can give it, there we get some emotion coming out, which is nice. And I can give her a little rest from the chopstick and use my thumb. See, by doing this to every thumb, finger, and toe, tension's got nowhere to hide in the body. And whatever it is, whether it be emotional stress or physical stress or some possession by another entity, it will get it out. So still working the 4 bands that are on each side. She's doing very well. And now I can come into this part of the thumb that I was saying we could feel how tight she was before there. And I can cross over it. On somebody who has a very thick kind of skinned hand and very tight. We could use a Thai massage tool for this. So, and particularly in certain professions, like carpenters and tilers and people, they can have such heavy, thick hands that we need to use tools, otherwise it'll tire our hands out. She's doing well. I'm gonna give her just a little rest while now I'm starting to warm up.
Oh my God, that's so sore.
Yeah, just breathe into it and let it go. We can also do things like stretch the thumb now to really, you can see how well that opens up that area. We can also just do a little bit of supportive belly breathing just to keep everything moving. So again, what I was talking about too is that intensity. She needs a bit of time to absorb that, to let out any tears or anything that's causing that, whatever it is causing that tension. Now we can come into this point. This is also called the great eliminator in Chinese medicine, or the letting go point. I find it does help people to let go. We can open that point up like this and then turn it and then come into there. That's stronger. How are you feeling, Anna? You good? Good to keep going?
Yep.
Yep. And while I'm holding that point, I can then move the thumb around, and that really flushes anything that's in that point out. I eased off the pressure very slightly when I'm doing it. Move that thumb, stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. And then we can open that up again. And then hold it and move the whole thumb. So a lot of different ways to hold that point. And then I'm going to come back in and just do it even more thoroughly. Okay, because I want to really flush this thumb of tension. But first, I just make sure, how's the macro picture? Okay, how's the breathing? She's got her other hand kind of shaking here.
Oh, my hand's sore. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So what we'll do before we come into that, we'll do a bit of assisted belly breathing.
Does it feel like an electric zap?
Yeah.
So all that stuff's coming out through her breath. Of course, whatever was trapped in there causing that tension is now kind of moving around her body before it comes out. And what we're doing with the assisted belly breathing is just encouraging that to move. But it'll all come out through her breath, even though if people get tetany or if people get all sorts of things happening. If they keep breathing, it'll shift it, okay? So it's just like we've released it from the thumb, which means it's released all the bands that are connected to the thumb. Any tension that's there is now no longer anchored in the thumb, so it's in free flow. So we just let her breathe. And as I was talking about with rhythm and flow, the major defining factor of what I call regulated release is how much can the breath process as you stir it up. it's good to come in, have a little break from the detail of what we were doing, come in and get that breath cycle as deep as possible. And working as the servant of the breath, so not overwhelming the breath. Again, we're not dealing with a dead body, we're dealing with a living person. Very important distinction. So the life force is at the fundamental basis of what we're doing. And the circulation of that life force, the flow of it, and getting rid of the stuff that's stifling the flow of that life force, what we could call crap. Again, English is very limited in its words to describe these different things.
I actually dreamed about this last night.
Did you? Yeah. We can also do things like a gentle rocking motion as we're doing the assisted belly breathing. So you can see I'm getting her whole body rocking, and that rocking itself is going to release energy. I've never done anything like what they call like Tibetan pulsing, so I don't know, but I imagine, and I could be completely wrong, but something like this would be sending waves of energy to get them out. Anything that's not the real person. You're welcome. So we have a bunch of different techniques and things that could be considered more yin or more yang, and we use whatever it is that's going to help her to get rid of it, whatever's stifling her life force and making her body tight. Yeah.
Really strong electrical impulses.
Yeah. So just keep that breath going into your belly. Let it, don't tighten your jaw about any noise that's going to come out. Just let the noise out. Because whatever's trapped in here needs to come out for you to deep breathe and process. Otherwise, if she goes up into her head, she can go into a panicky state. So there's obviously emotion that's trapped in here that she needs to access and just feel and let go, not escape up until stop like this. And that's it. Once she breathes into that, there's some deep-seated trauma or sadness. She's doing very well. Very well. That's very good. So we just monitor the breath. Never be scared about emotional release. The only thing you don't want to have happen is people start to feel sorry for themselves and they stop deep breathing. And that sends their energy up to their head and they can start to get a bit like they're going to pass out. So we want to keep that her breathing into her belly, which she's doing well. So she's processing it, not running away from it. If it becomes overwhelming with her hands, we can massage her hands to move some of that energy. I'd highly recommend you do that through a towel. You need me to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Where's your towels here? Okay, yeah, we'll just tell me. Okay. So how we do that, then you can see that the energy's all trapped as it's releasing. First of all, I haven't shown you that move, but we can just come in and hold points in between the bones of the hands here, the metacarpals. And we can just, and again, even with a towel, I pick up a lot of energy even through the towel, because that's how much is flowing into there right now. Nice click in that thumb that we were working at previously. Again, I can move those joints side to side. Anything I pick up, I get rid of. Because it's all crap that she doesn't need, so I don't want it either. That's a very important thing with it being a therapist. You don't want to be a psychic sponge for other people's crap. You'll be knocked out very quick. She doesn't want it, we don't want it. Just get rid of it. Let the plants deal with it. Let the airflow move it out. How's that feeling? Better? Yeah, and we can do the other hand. And especially as people start to have this deeper release, we want to make sure she's warm. We kind of don't want her head, you know, too much back like that, so she's kind of put that in a better position.
Try not to breathe on anybody.
You're right, we'll look after that. You breathe, we'll avoid it, okay? And for a therapist or people observing, you know, there's obviously energy coming out into the air, right? So make sure you're breathing deep as well. You know, you don't want to hold on to all this. You know, this is her stuff. I do say we're glorified sewage workers. We're often swimming other people's shitty energy in the environment, you know? That's just part of the job. As Anna says, it's like being a person working with, in an old age home, you know, working with people's bedpans and things. Here we're working more energetically with their shit. That's just the nature of the job, and you have to have compassion to do that. If you're a very selfish person, you won't want to do that. You're a very selfish person. Very good. Move your head back just a little bit more so it's not in the face off. Very good. So obviously when somebody's got a lot of long-term tension, then even opening up one thumb can start to stimulate the whole body. And whoa, things are starting to move, and you've got some energy moving from there, and then it affects other parts of the body. And that's a really great breath. You can see it's just real nice, good deep breathing. And that's what we're watching for. That's why I say we're then a servant of that breath. So we watch that breath and we feed it gunk that she's been holding on to. Good. I like to support people through their releases. You know, some people get a bit shy or embarrassed or various things when they're having an emotional release. So by saying things like, "You're doing well, very good," you're encouraging them. It's easy for people to get a bit socially, you know, feeling socially awkward, like, oh, what's, you know, because we're so used to keeping up what I call our social mask. You can see things are starting to kind of settle. So we've stirred some up. So then we think, okay, well then we can come back in and do some more. Stir up some more of the crap that's making her stifled. We could continue with that hand. We could continue with another hand in a full treatment. We could do her feet. We could do a bit here and a bit there, like, you know, when I was working on Ben and Tom and, you know, Rob.
I thought we got rid of most of those people.
They came out the other day.
My hands feel really, really charged.
Really sharp. So we'll keep loosening them up a little bit. Because again, there's no point in stirring up more while it all hasn't processed.
My tummy feels good.
Yeah, good.
My legs feel really good.
Good.
My head feels lighter.
Good. Good. Yeah, it's all just crap, for want of a better English word. It's quite a good English word.
Yeah, just giving some feedback.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's moving. Shit's moving.
I can feel it moving all over the place.
Right. Coming into that spot there. So as I say, it's like we've got that that deep belly breathing, and now we can feed it from here, from there, from wherever we're still holding. Just keep it all moving till the person till we run out of time in terms of our, you know, time that we've scheduled or whatever. If we're ruled by the clock, or if she might go into a stage where you can just tell that's enough for today because she virtually is in another world. You know? Or you might get exhausted. Those are the three things of how long we should do it. I could even come in at this stage too and just clear some of that out of her head. Yeah? First of all, I'll just check with her if she's warm enough. Are you warm enough? Yeah. Maybe we'll get another. Can we put another towel?
They're in my bag sometimes.
Okay.
The bag.
Okay. We really want to keep her warm as part of the treatment. They help. The tears do help with being able to move. The skin is a substitute massage oil, so don't worry about the tears. I'm coming into this point here. And then massaging her scalp. Again, trying to use the towel as like a sponge to pick up any of the energies that I've stirred up that have gone to her head.
My right side is so much more painful than
Yeah.
my left.
Some people say that's your male side. Some people equate the right side with the male side, the left side with the female. That's good. So I'm doing the hot iron rod through the head, energetically meeting the chi coming from my fingers into the middle of her brain. And then moving it. Always checking for earrings. And you can see again that breath start to calm down. How's your fingers feeling?
Still charged.
Yep. Get it breathing again. Breath. That's good. That's much better. That's why I often call this move getting the noise out of people. And opening that door so we get a bit more airflow. Yeah, exactly what I was just about to say is when you're doing the moves, the assisted belly breathing moves, is don't do them all the time. Like sometimes you stir up a bit, let them breathe, let them have a rest, and let them go into their own natural cycle of breathing. You can see then in these sort of breaks is where a lot of the time the emotion comes up as well. So you can see now it's like naturally sort of flowing out. And we just again let her breathe into that. And sometimes these emotions can be scary, so we can also project that energy through our hand of support. Just let her feel it. Very good. It's actually quite a gentle move. It's just sort of bouncing to bounce that energy that's trapped in there. Our emotional energy. And get it out. We need to, always working in that partnership model, letting her do the breathing, going into her dantian area. Big breath. I've had a couple people stop breathing during treatments, and they've actually gone off into completely other realms. I remember a friend of mine in Poland, and he stopped breathing for about, he was just off, and his wife started to freak out. She was in the room, brought him out of it, and he was actually in like a very deep state of samadhi or deep meditation. He was a bit upset that she brought him out of it. Well, I was a bit shocked too. I've only seen it twice, actually, two people just stop breathing for like a minute. But they didn't. Big. Just feel that. I can feel a lot of stuff swirling around here in her tummy. A lot of energy. And obviously this is the deeper seated emotional stuff that's having a bit of trouble. You can see the facial muscles moving. And eventually we're just going to let her take that deep breath when she's ready. See that deep-seated stuff, so she's probably in a deeper state of consciousness as well, really processing. Sometimes people will be having memories or reliving past experiences. like this where we're rocking, it's helping it just all to shift. But she's obviously got a process, I gotta look at it. Stuff that's been obviously in here, deep seated trauma for a while. You can see there's a lot about to come out. And that assisted belly breathing just helps that shit, for want of a better word, to actually not get stuck, but to move it. And then we let her breathe in again, so obviously. Again, we can do some gentle rocking. We can come from the other side. Nice breath. So, there's a reason why a lot of cultures call it the breath of life. A lot of Maori and, Hawaiian culture, they do greetings, like breathing in the breath of life with each other. It's such an important thing, the breath. And that breath is going to clear all this stagnation of emotional shit. Trauma, sadness, anger. And all that's been stored